We're going to let it grow. On day one, I will fire 𝗂𝗍𝗄𝗃 and appoint a new SEC chairman.
Wow, the biggest applause for Trump, a US president supporting Bitcoin. If you weren't here in Nashville this weekend with 22,000 Bitcoiners, you missed all the alpha. That's right, you had presidents, candidates, 𝗖𝗍𝗄𝗃, Cathie Wood, ETFs, big banks, the brightest minds, Bitcoin layer 2s, and more. All here, all bullish on Bitcoin in the US just 100 days before the election.
The United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world.
I will sign another executive order directing the U.S. Treasury to purchase 550 Bitcoin daily.
To ensure the transparent management of Bitcoin holdings of the federal government.
Right? We're the unbounded, the unbridled, the unafraid.
We are winning.
This is simple.
And we'll get it done.
This special episode is brought to you by 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, empowering creators and developers to explore the untapped potential of Bitcoin's 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 protocol.
We're here in Nashville for Bitcoin 2024, the biggest event of the year.
And that it was, 22,000 Bitcoiners here in Nashville. The city was full bull in anticipation of the first time a US president was addressing a crypto-only crowd. But first, just getting in to see the spectacle was a spectacle itself.
Let me take you inside to have a look. So, as you walk in here, it looks like an ordinary conference, but later on you'll see it's full of Secret Service. Let me show you. As you can see, the security here is absolutely insane because of Trump's assassination attempt. You got metal detectors on the outside, metal detectors on the inside, Secret Service stuff everywhere. And then what you'll see is that you got a line that goes for miles around, people trying to get in to see Donald Trump, to see RFK, to see the big speakers.
We'll check back in with the speakers, but first, let's look at the conference bits. Crypto banter right in the middle of the action like no other channel can be. We IRL at all the major conferences. No other channel can pull this off. And we've been coming to the Bitcoin conference ever since its inception in San Francisco in 2019.
So are you Satoshi Nakamoto?
I am, but I'm not the creator. I'm not the creator that made this Bitcoin possible.
Our clip with Max Keiser still stands out and goes viral all the time.
Okay, here's a $10 bill. This is garbage. This is garbage. Your people in South Africa, you have your rand, right? That's going to zero. That's going to zero.
Back then, it was a small get-together with just over 800 people. And today, 22,000. We were there when it shifted to Miami and the mayor inaugurating the Bitcoin bull. This week, here in Nashville, Music City, and boy, is it rocking. Take a look around Broadway. The honky-tonks, jam-packed, Bitcoiners jamming to what we can say is a different tune in the atmosphere. And next year, Las Vegas, baby.
Las Vegas. Buy your tickets now.
To reflect on it all, we caught up with 𝗍𝗏𝗍𝗏𝗍 I on just how far we've come.
I think that you've orchestrated, whether you know it or not, you've orchestrated a turning point for Bitcoin and crypto in the United States. I think the fact that you got Trump so passionate about crypto, and I think you were the spark. I think you may have been one of the most instrumental forces in changing the course of Bitcoin.
Well, I appreciate that. It's too much credit. And I'll say, like, the way we were able to knock over these dominoes is by getting a bunch of different companies and people together. By pooling our resources, we were able to, like, you know, deliver.
And deliver we have. That's the thing about this industry. It's not about competition, it's cooperation. It's us against the rest of them. And this conference indelibly marked the turning point for Bitcoin, the real inflection point.
Bitcoin is an idea whose time has come.
It's not about a rebel movement of libertarians anymore. This time, it's mainstream, with presidential candidates like RFK addressing the crowd.
I intend, as President of the United States, to sign an executive order on day one, directing the Department of Justice and the U.S. Marshals to transfer the approximately 200,000 Bitcoin held by the U.S. government to the United States Treasury, where it will be held as a strategic asset.
The nature of the discussions here are different. In the old days, it was all about technology. This year, it's about adoption, institutionalization, and even legislation, putting Bitcoin on the books.
Here it is. This is the Bitcoin
other politicos like 𝗍𝗏𝗡 and Senators Tim Scott and Marsha Blackburn here pushing for Bitcoin.
Because it's in the interests of the United States of America and the values that this country was founded on. And there is a difference.
Candidate after candidate stamped for Bitcoin.
And whatever we can do, wherever we can do it, let's get it done. Let's get it done right now.
And even the Dems made headlines during the conference calling for their party to back Bitcoin and crypto. But the biggest headliner of them all, President Donald Trump. Before his keynote, you wouldn't believe the line to get in.
You guys thought I was messing around when I told you about the line. Let me show you how long this line actually is. It's crazy. I mean, just have a look at this. This goes on for miles and miles and miles. People waiting in line, waiting in line, waiting in line. Guys, what are you waiting in line for? You waiting for Trump?
Of course. Trump.
And the line goes on and on and on. This is absolutely crazy. The line continues. These people are also waiting, and you thought that the line ended at our set. Well, you're absolutely wrong. These people are all here.
Red, we're waiting to see everything that got going on. You seen that green candle today?
I saw
That's this line right here.
You know what I call the green candle?
Yeah.
The Trump pump. You see this line just goes on. Are you waiting to go to the back of the line?
Yes.
Oh, wow, that's a long line. The line carries on. There you have it. What we think is the back of a line.
All told, about an hour and a half wait. But not for you, because we got a close seat for this historic address. Now let's get to some of the highlights. Key among them, Trump putting Bitcoin on the US balance sheet, officially.
If crypto is going to define the future, I want to be mined, minted, and made in the USA. It's going to be. It's not going to be made anywhere else. And if Bitcoin is going to the moon, as we say, it's going to the moon, I want America to be the nation that leads the way. And that's what's going to happen. No, you're going to be very happy with me.
First impression, this was a highly supportive audience. Anyone pro-Bitcoin is getting this vote. Just listen to the cheers at some of his pro-Bitcoin statements.
The reason could not be more clear, because Bitcoin stands for freedom, sovereignty, and independence from government, coercion, and control. The Biden-Harris administration's repression of crypto and Bitcoin is wrong, and it's very bad for our country. It's really quite un-American. A lot of things change. As president, I will immediately shut down Operation Choke Point 2.0. We will have regulations, but from now on, the rules will be written by people who love your industry, not hate your industry. People that want to make it clear and simple, straightforward, and fair. And I will always defend the right to self-custody. Self-custody.
From buzzwords like self-custody, Trump even supports stablecoins. Who knew?
As part of our effort to provide regulatory clarity, we will create a framework to enable the safe and responsible expansion of stable coins. Do you know what a stable coin is? Does anybody know? Please raise your hand. Those who say that Bitcoin is a threat to the dollar have the story exactly backwards. I believe it is exactly backwards. Bitcoin is not threatening the dollar. The behavior of the current U.S. government is really threatening the dollar.
The biggest news? Trump would put Bitcoin on the U.S. balance sheet. Full stop.
The federal government has almost 210,000 Bitcoin, or 1% of the total supply that will ever exist. But for too long, our government has violated the cardinal rule that every Bitcoiner knows by heart. Never sell your Bitcoin, right? That's right, isn't it, huh? That's right. How did I figure that one? Never sell your Bitcoin. And so, as the final part of my plan today, I am announcing that if I am elected, it will be the policy of my administration, United States of America, to keep 100% of all the Bitcoin the U.S. government currently holds or acquires into the future. We'll keep 100%. I hope you do well, please. This will serve in effect as the core of the strategic national Bitcoin stockpile. Thank you all. Have a good time with your Bitcoin and your crypto and everything else that you're playing with. And we're going to make that one of the greatest industries on earth. Good luck and God bless you all. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
That's Trump for you. This 8,000 person crowd, big fans. We echo the sentiment as fans of Bitcoin. So for now, it's back to the conference to break down where the Bitcoin industry is and where it's going. First up, a throwback with 𝗪𝗏𝗄𝗧 again. Enjoy.
It's all going to zero against Bitcoin. If you don't understand that yet, you're going to be impoverished. You're going to be on the street. You're going to be begging. You're going to be out of business. You're going to be toast.
Today, Max is back at it, only with bigger crowds. Enjoy it again.
You know, what am I thinking? What am I thinking for real? What am I thinking? What am I thinking, Rand Man? What am I thinking about it? You know, this is shit. This is total garbage. This is such shit, such garbage that you would never let your kids handle this garbage. We get venereal diseases if you get too close to this money. I've been inoculated against fiat money venereal disease, and I will not contract the fiat money disease. I only do Bitcoin, unlike you, Rand Man, and your shitcoin empire. You're pushing all the shitcoins. You're a disgrace. You should be fired. You should be not let in this country. You won't be allowed in El Salvador because El Salvador is Bitcoin country. We don't let Rand Man in the country because you're pushing your shit. 𝗂𝗏𝗄𝗃 is number one. 𝗂𝗏𝗃𝗃 is number one. That's what we're talking about in El Salvador, man, Rand. We got the best. We got the brightest. We got the best folks in Bitcoin. 𝗂𝗏𝗃𝗃, 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 𝗂𝗏𝗃𝗃. But come on, let's hear it. 𝗂𝗏𝗃𝗃, 𝗂𝗏𝗃𝗃, 𝗂𝗏𝗃𝗃. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Get this shit off the table. I don't want to see this shit. What's on your mind?
Turning point, I think, this conference, right? Don't you feel it's like a bit of a turning point? This is the first one where I really feel that we're at an inflection point.
Yeah.
2 presidential candidates, an ex-president. How are you feeling about it?
Right. I think, you know, if you look at the comparison to where the internet was and the internet growth during the 90s, it was bobbing along there for a few years. And then Netscape went public in 97, I believe, or 98. And then you had that hockey stick moment where you had really massive adoption of the internet. That's where Bitcoin is in 2024.
Now, do you trust that Trump's here for the right reasons, or is he here looking for votes? And the same with RFK.
It doesn't matter, you know, because Bitcoin's on its own vector and nothing can stop it. And we don't give a shit what Donald Trump has to say. It's not about him. It's about Bitcoin.
How important is Bitcoin to the elections?
Well, to your point, it's not for the average voter. Will it be the single point for voters on this 2024 election? We are approaching that point where it will become. I know in Central America, for countries that want to follow in the footsteps of El Salvador, it is becoming the primary vote consideration.
ETFs. How bullish are you on this whole ETF movement?
There's 2 answers. Number one, the product itself is not a good product because you're not taking control of the private keys. So if, in fact, the government were to decide to seize Bitcoin for some reason, as they did gold back in the 30s,
seize the ETF first.
They would seize the ETF and they would settle with you for cash or a CBDC. It's showing how Bitcoin is demonetizing gold because people are selling their gold ETF to buy Bitcoin ETF. It's demonetizing silver. It's already being demonetized anyway. It's demonetizing the S&P 500. It's bigger than the NASDAQ ETF, so it's demonetizing the NASDAQ ETF to some degree.
It sounds like you think the next catalyst for Bitcoin is going to be a collapse of the NASDAQ.
I would say the next major catalyst for Bitcoin would be one of the big Muslim Arab countries like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, UAE. I think they'll come out and they'll announce like a $500 billion buy program for Bitcoin. And I think that would be the major catalyst.
Max, always good to see you, my friend.
Yes.
Good to see you.
See you next year.
Next year, same time, same place.
And now, don't show when I'm bending on my knees, picking up all these fragments of bills and taping them together. Don't show that part.
In fact, quite the opposite. Max continued to put on a show and actually signed autographs on the torn up money. From Max's flair for the dramatics, let's get back to the main stage and get a more pragmatic take from some of the keynote speakers. Big names such as Michael Saylor, Cathie Woods. Let's hear their takes on Bitcoin today.
One of the reasons Bitcoin's price will continue to go up is because of the opportunities that Layer 2 Lightning networks and the convergence with AI is going to create is going to be phenomenal.
The first country to buy Bitcoin by issuing its own currency wins. At that rate, Bitcoin's $13 million a coin in the year 2045. 13 million. It could be a 3 million bear case. It could be a 49 million bull case. But what is Bitcoin? 7% of the world's assets then.
From the Nakamoto stage back to the expo hall, I ran into 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗃, who always has a more nuanced and more balanced approach to the market. He's as Wall Street as it gets. Let's talk to Mark about all things ETF and all things Bitcoin.
This is the first conference where I feel that there's a turning point. Do you think we're at a turning point now?
I do. I agree. I mean, look at the lineup of speakers, best they've ever had, the size, best they've ever had, the people.
Do you think Trump is pro-Bitcoin, or do you think Trump is pro-vote?
I think he's pro-votes. I think he is anti-CBDC. I think that's real, and that's great.
We spoke last before the Bitcoin ETFs.
Yeah.
Now Bitcoin ETFs are here. $18 billion of net inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs.
With an asterisk.
What's the asterisk?
The asterisk is the vast majority of that, unfortunately, has not been retail money, FA directed money. It's the big hedge funds that are long the ETF, but they're short the future against it, which is why we've had this kind of roller coaster, highs and lows.
So explain that trade to me. So
it's an arbitrage.
An arbitrage, yeah?
So the futures price versus the spot price of any commodity, whether it's oil or wheat or gold or Bitcoin, because it's been deemed a commodity, which was not an accident. Okay, we all worry about whether it's a security. No, they want it to be a commodity, because when it's a commodity, you can create paper commodities through the futures market.
Yes.
So the difference between futures and spot when the launch happened was almost 30%, 3-0. So you could short the future, go long the ETF, and ARB 30%. Now that's come in to 10%, and that's why there's been downward pressure. It's why we went from 74 to 54. But in the last 3 weeks, that spread by shrinking, there's less downward pressure of people creating paper Bitcoin in the futures market. And that's why we've slowly ticked back up. So what we need is real retail money to come in buy the ETF.
When do you think we will get real? Because you guys were the pioneers. You guys were the first people to sell Bitcoin to a pension fund?
Yeah, pension funds, exactly. Good memory, yeah. Yep.
So you probably have your finger on the pulse in terms of when do you think these big pension funds, big institutions, big endowments are actually going to say, hold on, we need to have 1% or 2% of Bitcoin on our balance sheet?
They're here, but a small number. So it's kind of like any pyramid, right? Yeah. You got the early adopters, and then you've got the kind of early majority, but it's that foundational layer that's hard. And so I'll give you a perfect example. So there's a group, a big European pension fund that we talked to in 22. They were right there, ready to go. Then FTX happens, they're like, oh, we're out. Till those people kind of get over their fear, we're not going to get the wave. But we did see some sovereigns and a few pensions buy the BlackRock ETF just as a long.
The arbitrage starts to close, then there's it's not worth the trade anymore.
Absolutely. And look, I've said that this is going to be the Thanksgiving to end all Thanksgiving.
Holy shit. Right? You got elections, elections.
And Bitcoiners all around us go home, and this year we're welcomed, right? Whereas the last 2 years was like, get the hell out of my house. In fact, you don't even get dinner. Remember 17? We hit 10,000 on November 6th. And 8 weeks later, we were at 20,000.
Yes.
And it was all that word of mouth. And I think this time, I really think we're hitting 6 digits.
So listen, speaking about Thanksgiving, thank you, my friend.
No, thank you.
So, see you at Thanksgiving. Also having a bit of a holiday are the ETF issuers, exchanges, and investment banks like Cantor Fitzgerald, who you wouldn't believe how much Bitcoin they own.
Does Cantor Fitzgerald own Bitcoin? A shed load of Bitcoin.
I'd like to think we'll see 5 more nations go the way that El Salvador went.
And what's interesting to me is how big the assets in Bitcoin ETFs are now relative to the ecosystem, right? It's coming up on 60 billion. relative to a $1.5 trillion asset, let's call it ballpark, there's only double that amount in gold bullion ETFs.
From these highly respected voices in the industry, let's go to another highly respected analyst in the industry, James Van Straten, breaking down where we are in the cycle and where we're going.
We've been referencing his research for a long time. It's one of the best out there.
Cheers, Ron.
So I was going to ask you, do you think that now Bitcoin is a TradFi asset? Like, have we lost it? Is it no longer driven by crypto retail?
So I did a debate with 𝗔𝗵𝗃𝗃 a couple of weeks ago, and his whole debate was, is the ETF the end game or the gateway into Bitcoin? And I was arguing that the ETF inflows are so small in relation to the futures market and the spot market. I think the futures market is around 30-40 billion, the spot market is around 5-6 billion, and the ETF inflows on any given day is a couple of $100 million, up to $1 billion if the days are really good. So I think we see sometimes correlation in the market and sometimes we lose it. So everyone was panicking last few weeks when Bitcoin had their 25% correction in bull markets, which was normal, and the stock market was going to its all-time high. But now what we're seeing again is the stock market's kind of dropped off the last few days and Bitcoin's climbed higher. So we're kind of converging again with the stock market. So I think in waves of adoption and interest, Bitcoin will have its correlation and lose its correlation.
Okay, so where are we right now in the Bitcoin cycle?
I'm so bullish that we're in the 4-year cycle. The ETF demand drove Bitcoin to its all-time high before the halving, which has never happened before, but we're still completely intact with the 4-year halving. If you look at it from the halving point of view, we're now 3 months since the halving. We're exactly on point with the last 2 cycles. We were actually the best performing part of the cycle after a halving. We're now the worst performing, but the differential in percentage points is so minuscule. But we have this 3 to 6 month low after the halving due to like the miners capitulating, difficulty becoming more difficult to mine, obviously through the cost of it. But then we're going to start to see this appreciation usually 6 months after, so I'm looking around August, September time, and I'm looking at the higher beta assets, especially the miners, and I think this is where we will really start to kick on.
So you think like within 30 to 60 days we break the all-time high?
I think by October, I think yes, definitely we'll break the all-time high. I think we'll find the price discovery, and it's looking really, really bullish. I think global liquidity is coming back in. We have a US election where I think short term they're going to have to pump the markets to keep everything going. But I'm not necessarily saying that's entirely bullish because we've had recessions during election years. But if we're still going on this 4-year cycle belief, it's looking very, very good. The supply and the market's a lot bigger than we all understand. So yeah, I'm not worried.
Well, there's some hopium for you, and of course no worries from James. Let's forget about Wall Street and ETFs for a second, and let's talk about the real deal. Bitcoin dominance versus altcoins. And who better to speak to about that than Ben Cowan?
Professor Ben Cowan, the last time we came here in the class, you told us that the Bitcoin dominance was going to go up from 45. Here we are today, 56.5. And it looks like it could even go up later this afternoon. Why are you so confident that this is going to carry on happening?
I think there's several reasons why dominance is going to go higher. Number one, we still have not yet transitioned to looser monetary policy. We're still at high rates, the Fed's still at 5.5%, and they're still reducing the size of their balance sheet. So that's number one. There's also this unfavorable seasonality for altcoins in Q4. So a lot of times Bitcoin outperforms the altcoin market in the fourth quarter of the year. And then finally, we have a conference where we have presidential candidates talking about Bitcoin. So to me, it seems fundamentally there's a good chance we're going to see Bitcoin dominance go up into either September or December of this year.
How high will it go? I mean, it's at 56.5 now. I mean, how high will it go?
I think a realistic target is around 60%. I think and that's always been the target. It seems like it can get there. It's going to be more difficult for it to get to much higher levels, like 70 and 80, mainly because there's the stablecoin market that takes up a lot of the market cap now.
This cycle was different because we broke the all-time high before the halving, and we've never done that before, right? What makes you so convinced that the cycle is the same?
So far, things are playing out in a similar fashion when it relates to Bitcoin dominance. For instance, in 2017, Bitcoin dominance went down. And then we saw 3 years where Bitcoin dominance went up. And then in 2021, Bitcoin dominance went down. 3 more years, now we're near the end of 2024. It seems like there's a pattern that plays out. And we get alt season, 1 of the 4 years. and then we wish for alt season again, and then it just doesn't happen. And instead, it's better to just get on the Bitcoin dominance train for 3 years and just say, you know what? There's going to be some alts that do well, but most are going to bleed to Bitcoin until looser monetary policy arrives.
So listen, you're a very conservative guy. Your main trading is around Bitcoin, right?
Correct.
What do you do as a conservative trader when you think the Bitcoin dominance is going to come down?
I think for everyone, at all points in the cycle, it makes sense to have a majority of your portfolio in Bitcoin. Because as we've seen, Bitcoin stands the test of time. It was number one in 2009 until today. It's never relinquished that spot. We also know that altcoins come and go. If you were to look at the top 10 today, it's very different from what it was 4 years ago, and that was very different 4 years before that. So I think at all times during this cycle, it makes sense to have a majority of your portfolio in Bitcoin. But there's 1 year in the cycle where the risk-adjusted returns of some of the higher market cap altcoins, like Ethereum, can start to outperform Bitcoin for about 12 months or so. So if you wanted to diversify out of Bitcoin, it's normally the post-halving year.
I'm feeling that this could be a turning point for Bitcoin. Do you think that this is the inflection point? Do you think that this could maybe even break the 4-year cycle theory?
Anything's possible. And I think at some point, the 4-year cycle will probably break, because once we get comfortable with something, right?
The market teaches us a lesson.
The market humbles us all after a long enough period of time. So I do think this could be an inflection point. It's possible that things change. One possibility is that my prediction on Bitcoin dominance is too conservative, and that it just keeps going up next year too. And that's one of the reasons why I say Bitcoin heavy at all times, because we really don't know. Bitcoin will be here in 10 years. Who knows about everything else?
Some strong Bitcoin dominance and some strong analysis. Wow. Another theme we love to see explored here at Bitcoin Conference is freedom. The conference featuring the likes of Edward Snowden, Russell Brand, Alex Gladstein from the Human Rights Foundation, and activists around the world fighting good fights around Bitcoin's ability to preserve individual rights, sovereignty, self-custody, and of course privacy.
Payment issues are now the #1 threat to the humanitarian space. Okay, well, like Bitcoin essentially fixes that. I mean, you can just have direct peer-to-peer access to anyone else in the world with Bitcoin. You can get the aid to where it needs to go, and people understand that.
Bitcoin transactions are not private.
Edward Snowden, exiled. Julian Assange, while absent, was imprisoned and incarcerated without trial. All for what? To protect you. To protect you from information that might harm you, or to protect you from microbes or viruses that might harm you. God help us. God protect us from these people that want to save us and protect us.
From the leading thinkers of freedom, let's go to a leading new author, Michael Turpin, out with a new book.
Most times you make price predictions, you're going to get it wrong. But someone who has been on the show and has made a lot of very accurate cycle price prediction is Michael Turpin. And now he's writing a book called The Bitcoin Super Cycle, How the Crypto Calendar Can Make You Rich. That's what the book looks like. So tell me about the Bitcoin Super Cycle. Tell me where we're at in the Super Cycle.
Sure. So we have, of course, the 4-year cycles. And I wrote this book because I talk to family offices a lot and traditional investors, and they seem to think that Bitcoin prices are just random. And I tell them that the cycles for Bitcoin are just as predictable as stock market and real estate, but they're 4-year instead of 10-year or some other year cycle. You have diminishing returns. You had 100x in the first halving, then you had 30x. I thought we were going to have 10x in the last one, and it ended up being 8x because of macro factors with the interest rates going up so high. I project this time it's going to be 3x the halving. We spoke about a year ago, and I said the halving would be about 45K. That was before the ETFs came in. We ended up going to almost 64. So I'm still saying that it's going to be 3x the halving, and that will be about 190 or so.
And how long do you think it'll take us to get from here to 190? When you say, like, what's the end of the cycle?
Well, that's the interesting thing is every cycle there's usually one factor that has happened every time, and only one of them can happen again. Last time it was we had November, December for the high of the year after the halving. We also had a lengthening cycle. It was 12 months after the halving, then it was 18. So one of these two things would happen, or neither, which would be we would have 24 months and we would have the high instead of 2021 in May of 22. There were a number of people who thought that was going to happen. I was still leaning toward end of the fourth quarter, and that's what did happen. This time, we ended up having, for the first time ever, and I did not think this was going to happen, we had the all-time high of the prior cycle before the halving, instead of 4 to 7 months afterwards.
That's because of the ETF.
Because of the ETF. But the fact that it then dropped afterwards, I think that the halving price is the more predictive, and so that would end up being, again, the end of 2025, November, December. However, if Bitcoin summer, which is I call when the last price high hits, so Bitcoin spring is when the seed of the halving is planted. Bitcoin summer is the day you pass the last cycle's high. And usually after that, it's historically been 8 to 12 months. So if that one prevails, then we would hit the high in April and then drop from there.
Soon.
I think we can hit both. Like, I think we're gonna have a double bubble. And the way that I think you can check it is what happens in between. So if we hit a big high in April, say 140, 150, and then it starts dropping in the summer, see how far it goes. If it goes below the 200-week moving average, you're toast. If it bounces off of it, then you got a second wave.
So when is this book going to be published?
It's in pre-order now. September 17th is when it ships. Distributed by 𝗖𝗿𝗍𝗍, Peak Point Press, and just in time for October, which usually is when the run-up starts. And for the first 1,000 pre-sale buyers, I'm going to give them a free mint of an ordinal.
All right, guys, so you see Bitcoin Super Cycle, How the Crypto Calendar Can Make You Rich by Michael Turpin. You can go and pre-order it.
From the serious stuff inside, let's make our way outside to the streets of Nashville, where Bitcoiners have taken over. Thing is, it's not just Bitcoin. Look at the head-turning 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 Cybertruck and my buddy JP, the founder of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Bro!
Yo, what's happening?
What's up, brother?
What's up, bro? Get out! You bought me a car, thank you. Holy shit. Oh, this is so fucking cool. Alrighty, is there, I guess there's no handbrake, right?
Okay, ready? There we go.
Okay, now.
And then the indicator on the TR.
Holy shit, I can't believe I'm doing it. Guys, this is a good friend of mine. You've met him on the show, JP. He was the founder of 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 or the Rune token, as you know. And we are just driving around Nashville and just seeing how amazing this town is.
But this car's wild because if you just watch all the passerbys, the pedestrians, they will pull out their phones and just take photos of it.
You got room for one more?
Hey, how's it, brother?
You got room for one more?
Nah.
No?
We're filming. Thanks, buddy.
Wow, look at this. Look how many people are just taking photos.
Yeah, dude, it's viral. How cool. Look, it's just phone after phone after phone. Where's the Banter sticker? Throw the Banter sticker on.
This is an incredible ROI, huh?
Yeah, man.
Incredible ROI.
A huge ROI.
You got fucking huge marketing ROI. Okay, you got everyone here. You got cowboy hats everywhere. If you're in Nashville, you got to get a cowboy hat. Everyone here wears cowboy hats. The girls all wear short
shorts and the cowboy shoes.
And cowboy shoes. It's amazing.
So much leg. So this is the Bitcoin conference, and 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 is the biggest Bitcoin swapping protocol in the world.
Yes.
So it only makes sense that a decentralized coin like Bitcoin should have a decentralized exchange like 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏. So that's the magic.
And is that why you branded a Cybertruck?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else like it, as you know.
There's nothing else like 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏, and there's nothing else like a Cybertruck.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's been good. It's good magic.
It is magic. Wow. This is a beautiful car. Yo, what's happening? What's happening, Nick? I mean, I've driven 100 meters in 100. Whoa. Holy shit. Holy shit. This is not a joke.
No.
And now we're crossing the bridge and riding off into the sunset.
So, as I ride off into the sunset on day one, we'll come back to the conference to hear all about Bitcoiners building on Bitcoin. Stay tuned. And building within the Bitcoin ecosystem, our sponsor for this very special coverage of Bitcoin 2024, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, empowering creators and developers to explore the untapped potential of Bitcoin's ordinal protocol. Check it out at bitcoinsordinalprotocol.com. That's bitcoinordinalsprotocol.com. Welcome back to the conference here in Nashville, a weekend where 22,000 Bitcoiners descended upon Music City, with everyone from Trump to Michael Saylor, Max Keiser, all making their case for Bitcoin.
Today I repeat my pledge to commute the sentence of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 to a sentence of time served. It's enough. It's enough.
Fast forward to nights out in Smashville. Out and about after dark, it seemed like half the time we're working in some novel way on Bitcoin. Here at the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 party, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's announcing that they bring Ethereum's capabilities to Bitcoin via rollups. Let's talk to these builders on Bitcoin and more.
No visit to a Bitcoin conference would be complete unless we spoke about altcoins. Okay, so what's your thesis around altcoins versus Bitcoin?
Think about Bitcoin as an investor. You can think about altcoins as a trader, right? It's traders versus investors. And up until now, Bitcoin has been the chain for investors, and everything else, like the wider crypto world, has been for the trader. This cycle is a bit weird. Meme coins are going crazy, and things like Aptos and 𝗬𝗎, which were supposed to be like the next big wave of L1s, are suffering, right? And I think a big reason is that we've spread the crypto space like thin butter. There's not enough liquidity users to go around to so many different L1s. And so things are starting to consolidate around Solana and around Ethereum. And, you know, obviously Bitcoin. What's changed now is that Bitcoin is able to start having rollups, is able to start having smart contracts. And so we're going to start seeing, like, Bitcoin has entered the chat.
So you believe that Bitcoin can replace Solana and Ethereum as a smart contract network? Because do you think that Bitcoin can disrupt that network effect? Or do you think that we're going to live in a world where Bitcoin is a store of value?
Yeah, look, as of 2 days ago, Bitcoin was a dumb chain that could only be used as a store of value. Okay. And it was 55% of the market, right? Then, a day ago, we announced that we can now do ZK proofs on Bitcoin, right? Yes. That was the big thing that we've managed to, like, that's our breakthrough. What that means is that now that 55% can only grow because it's now competing with Solana for the biggest ecosystem on any particular chain. It's competing with Ethereum for modularity. And so I think things are going to get really spicy.
You think that Bitcoin is now going to disrupt that space? You think that because of the ZK rollup that you guys pioneered?
First of all, I'm 100%. It is going to change the landscape. We're already, like, over just the last 24 hours, the number of Ethereum projects, rollups that have reached out to me, right, or people on my team and have asked, wait, we can now roll up to Bitcoin? And we've already started serious conversations with some of them about them becoming Bitcoin rollups.
People that don't understand the importance of rollups, explain to them why the transition between not being able to do rollups and being able to do rollups is so important.
Sure. Look, every single network, like significant network that we've had up until now, hasn't scaled by just having bigger and bigger machines, which is what Solana is trying to do. All right. Now, I think the Solana method is legitimate. We can talk about that in a second. But overall, the way you scale computer systems is you add additional layers which get aggregated, right? In the world of crypto, we call it rolling it up. You take 1,000 transactions, you compress them into one transaction, you put them on the base layer. So that's what, you know, Base or Blast or all of the
L2s.
All the L2s, that's what they're either doing or saying they're doing.
Yeah.
Asset.
As the security layer.
As the security layer and as the asset, yes. Because you're now, for the first time ever, able to bridge Bitcoin trustlessly between the mainnet and the layer 2s, back and forth.
Okay, now, I mean, how soon is this a reality?
We're going to see the first Bitcoin rollup testnet, probably in 2 or 3 months. By the end of the year, we're going to start seeing a vibrant ecosystem of projects, mainnet, rolling up Ethereum.
Well, listen, let's meet again here at this conference in 2025, and let's see if you were right. If you're right about
Absolutely.
your thesis.
You wanna make a bet?
No, I'm not a betting man.
A vampire attack on Ethereum. We kind of like it. And yes, we do like ordinals. Let's check in with the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 bringing you this special episode right here.
Okay, now we are here at 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, which is our sponsor for today. Toby, how are you doing?
Yeah, really great, Ram.
How's the conference been for you?
For us as a company, we've been like, everyone is mad about inscriptions, they're mad about runes, they're mad about 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, all on Bitcoin.
So tell me, what does 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 actually do? Tell our viewers exactly what 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 actually does.
Yeah, we're the easiest way for you to create an inscription on ordinals. So basically storing data onto the Bitcoin blockchain. It's really re-energized all of Bitcoin. I think like ordinals are bringing the buzz back to Bitcoin in a way that I think 2 years ago no one would have thought even possible. And Trump doing this at the macro level, we're doing it at the micro level.
So ordinals are, I mean, I've messed around with ordinals. They're quite complicated to mint, to inscribe, it's quite a complicated process. What you're saying is, if you go to ordinals, but it's much easier. You can just deploy in a second.
Yeah, it's like click of a button stuff, basically. Like when we first launched, 5,000 ordinals had been created because only really a programmer could do it. The day afterwards, 15,000 have been created, and since then we've just boomed since.
So can our viewers go right now and actually create their own ordinals?
Yeah.
How do they do it?
They basically come onto our website, ordinalsbot.com. They can just put a JPEG in, they can put a text file in, and that stores data onto Bitcoin, and it's just like, it's basically 3 clicks.
Okay, tell me about token.
Yeah, the token, so we're also launching one of the first Bitcoin utility tokens, where basically it's going to allow you to stake, it's allowing you access to mints.
On Bitcoin?
On Bitcoin. It allows you can pay with it as well, and we've created a system called TokenPay that allows you to pay with any Bitcoin or Rune.
When does it launch?
It's already launched. It launched 2 months ago, and we really want to share with you all.
All right, guys. So you heard it. You go to Ordinals, but try it out because it is a skill that you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to learn how to do NFTs, how to do Ordinals, and this is probably the easiest way to do it, and probably the most credible and reliable way to do it. Toby, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob.
We're going to carry on with our coverage of the conference. Let's get going.
What else did we find across the conference? So many picks and shovels providers to the world of Bitcoin. From major miners to banking to Ledger making a major announcement and showing off their new ledgers.
Guys, you will never guess what this piece of technology is. Just have a look at this. Just this beautiful thing here. This is the new ledger. This is the new wallet. What is this? It looks like an iPhone.
Well, this one was actually designed by the co-inventor of the iPhone, 𝗠𝗏𝗍𝗍, so that makes some sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it was who also invented the iPod and Nest. And this one is Ledger Stacks. And this one is Ledger Flex, which is the one we announced today.
And what is Ledger Flex? I mean, it's a...
Well, look, what do you need to be secure? It's the same thing as a Nano, but with a better user interface.
Yeah, I saw the way that you enter your PIN just...
And then the PIN code on the test one there.
See, that's how you enter the PIN code.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. This is the future, right? This is as safe, if not safer, than the original.
It is really as safe as a ledger. So all the ledgers really have equivalent security.
How much are they, and when are they going on sale?
So the Ledger Stacks is $399. It comes with one of these cases. And you can buy them on ledger.com today. This one is $249. And it doesn't come with a case, but it's also available on ledger.com today. And we also have them in a vending machine right here at the show.
All right, so guys, listen. I'm going to put a link below. If you want to order one of these, click the link below, and you can get one of these amazing, amazing, amazing wallets. I must be honest, this is the first time I've actually seen this wallet. I've heard about it a lot.
Stack them up. Here, grab a couple.
It is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly impressive technology, and probably, I don't know, just very excited about it. Guys, remember, link below, link below.
From one link to another, let's check out BitLayer, a Bitcoin Layer 2 launching their mainnet in a month or two.
Wow, what an eventful day. Lots going on here today. In fact, one of the craziest conferences I've ever been to before. Charlie, you've been to a lot of conferences, right? What's impressed you the most here?
There's just so many Bitcoin OGs. I never get a chance to meet in person. It's all there.
And tell me, how you guys doing? You guys are at BitLayer, you guys are building amazing things. How are you guys progressing?
We made a big announcement of our A round.
You guys announced actually the other day that you guys were invested in by Franklin Templeton. Yes. Yeah. Why are they investing in Bitcoin Layer 2, so to speak?
They like to explore the Bitcoin frontier. They want to sound like a smart Bitcoin ETF firm. They don't want to just compete on the price, on the fees, but of course they have a lot of Bitcoin exposure. They want to tap into the yield opportunity. They are working on the Bitcoin money market fund with us.
And in terms of like, there's lots of Bitcoin L2s which are now popping up. Right. Who wins this race?
I think it's not just technology race, because technology is important. We're working very closely on the Bitcoin verification. It's ecosystem competition. It's a community competition. And it actually need to find a way to flip Ethereum with L2s.
Wow. Yeah. That's quite a big ambition.
Yeah, eventually we have to. So the people who actually understand Ethereum very well, needs to win.
So is it going to be Bitcoin only, or is it going to be Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana?
I think each of us has interesting different choices. There's a different design choices, pros and cons. Bitcoin has its just unique side, right? With 1.5 trillion market cap. Bitcoin culture is absolutely to the roof right now with ordinals. It's have unique set of community already. Yes. So it's going to take a lot of more and more market share in the space.
Okay. Listen, so we wish you good luck. I mean, you guys are doing amazing, amazing things. Let's keep, we've been talking about you guys a lot. Keep us updated and we'll keep our community updated.
Yeah, we got interesting updates next month for the V2 version mainnet. Right, so hopefully we're going to make history for Bitcoin.
Let us know when it happens.
Yeah.
Cool, my friend.
Thank you very much,
nice
man. Yeah.
You know what? That's an excellent way to cap this off. It feels for the first time that we are indeed making history. Full stop. We've covered conference after conference after conference around the world. But this is a historic first. A US president addressing the core of our industry on all things Bitcoin. Mark my words, we made history.
I watch it every day.
That's so cool, bro.
The regular channel and plus.
Well, that's it from the Bitcoin conference here in Nashville. We've seen everything from senators to congressmen, even presidents, and we've seen a lot of nightlife. I'll see you guys again next year at the Bitcoin conference in Las Vegas. Until then, trade well, my friends.